Hello, Danny.
Hi, yeah, how you doing?
Not too bad, considering, and yourself.
Yeah, really well, thanks. Yeah, it's been crazy times, isn't it? A lot of adapting is required.
Absolutely. And I was thinking this morning, I was trying to figure out how long we've actually been under this condition at the moment. And I think we're in Ireland, we're coming into week 5 of lockdown.
Is it? Yeah,
Yeah, and we
the
were
same.
told, yeah, not another 3 weeks to go until they reevaluate, and we'll see. So yeah,
Okay.
we've got a little bit of time left to go, so I thought I'll keep going with these videos. We'll keep giving people some tips and some hints as to how to get through this, not just maybe survive, but actually maybe come out a little bit better if possible. Really, the other side of this.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great thing that you're doing. So good on you for doing that.
Oh, thanks, honey. So, Danny, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do?
Okay, thank you. So my name's Dr. Danny Scahill, the founder of DannyScahill.com and the author of the book Total Health Transformation, the proven system to unlock limitless energy, motivation and health, and also the creator of the Total Health Transformation programs. This here is my book, THT I call it for short, and that was born out of, I've been a chiropractor for nearly 15 years now, and having done many workshops pretty much from day one, I eventually wrote this book, and it was released, transform their health essentially, and a lot of the work
Sorry,
I
by the way, just my internet's dropping in and out, so if that happens, we'll just. So you wrote the book. That was the last thing I heard.
did I show you the book?
You did show us the book, yeah. And if people are going, what was the name of it? Don't worry, there's a link underneath for information. So I apologise. Don't know what's happening to the internet this morning, but I think everyone's having a few technical difficulties throughout this time as well. So we'll just keep going.
No worries. So basically, I'm still a chiropractor in practice. I also do my coaching through the THT programs. THT, I'm going to call it from this point, rather than Total Health Transformation. And so, yeah, I do have lots of clients pretty much the world over now. Most of that is online, which is very appropriate now in the environment that we find ourselves in, because my chiropractic practice, although we weren't forced to close down because chiropractic is deemed essential, like the medics are and all those other kind of professions at this point, we chose to close because of public perception more than anything else, but we will be reopening soon. So it's been quite a crazy time with a lot of adapting required on our part and everyone else. And yeah, we just want to help and serve people as best we can.
Very good. And one of the things we had a little chat about beforehand, because I know it's happening in my household and certainly with my family who are having to work from home, is because we'll talk a little bit about kind of general health as well, but actually physically people's posture from working from home. And I know I'm very stiff. I spent probably far longer on the laptop in terms of and sitting than I normally would, and watching TV a lot more than I normally would. And even though we're trying to get a bit of exercise in and everything else, just feel really stiff. And I'm just wondering if there's anything you can suggest to people, because people don't, to really come out of this completely crippled would be wouldn't really be great for people. So what would you suggest people do?
Well, there's loads of things in that kind of arena, if you like. So the key really, or one of the main keys, is to get up as often as you can and move the body. We are not designed to be sedentary, sat down for long periods like most of us are generally, but even more so now, I reckon. I'm just going to sit up a bit straighter in my chair right now.
I know, as soon as I start talking about it, I suddenly become aware that I'm probably not sitting properly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I do chiropractic workshops and THT workshops and stuff, the second I talk about posture, people are starting to straighten up in the chair. So get up and move around as often as you can. So I always say at least once every 15, maybe 20 minutes, get up, walk around. This was when people were working in offices where they could make an excuse to get up and go and get a drink of water like you are now. So like a lot of offices have water fountains and stuff. And so I would say get up at least once every 20 minutes, move around. We're designed to move. We're not designed to be sedentary. So when we move, that energizes the body. you've probably, you know, one of the essential nutrients to power up your brain is movement. Movement nutrition, we call it. It powers up your brain. You know, like if you've ever broken down in your car and you've needed a jump start or a bump start or something like that. So you don't often see people doing that these days, but back in the day it happened a lot more, wouldn't it? And so the reason why the car needs to drive for a few miles is because the alternator is going to power up the battery, right? Movement powers up the human brain. We need to move. So you'll find when you move more, you'll have more energy. So that's one thing, which is probably the biggest thing. If at all possible, standing desks are a great thing. So when we're in my chiropractic office, my staff, certainly when clients are in the room, my staff are not allowed to sit down.
Right.
They're supposed to be stood up. We've got a standing desk. It raises energy, it raises productivity, it raises focus and concentration. So doing that is a great thing. I would definitely avoid, I often hear people talk about using a laptop while they're lying on their bed, craning their neck around to look at don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. There's a couple of really simple things to change straight away. And I've seen you
I know a lot of people are having to improvise because, most people wouldn't necessarily be set up to work from home. So they won't necessarily be sitting in an office chair with a particular, ergonomic design. They might have to sit on a dining room chair or a bar stool in their kitchen or, something like that. So those chairs are not designed to be sat on and, working on a laptop or on their computers, for long periods of time. So obviously people are having to improvise in terms of what they can use, but certainly I think the best advice is getting up, isn't it?
Definitely.
Particularly if you're sitting on furniture that's not designed as office furniture.
Absolutely. One other thing that could be improvisable, if that's even a word, is if you've got like bookshelves and stuff like that, which can be much, much higher. Put the laptop on that, stand up and work on it that way. It's have a look around your house and see what can be utilized to help, either be in a standing desk situation or something that's more appropriate in height for you to sit down and do some work. But one of the big keys, as I mentioned, is moving around.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of people, there's so much online now in terms of yoga and Pilates and stretching exercises. So I don't know, in the UK here we have a 2K limit in terms of how far away from your house you can go for exercise. So that's a reasonable distance to go for a walk and back again. It's okay, but certainly in terms of stretching and really helping your body to kind of get out of that tension. And I'm sure a lot of it comes from the mind as well. When your mind is tense, your body is tense.
Yeah, no doubt.
So with your system, what sort of things do you recommend to help people with their stress and their, that translation into the body?
And there's all sorts of things, like there's three core principles, if you like, or three parts of the system. That is eat on purpose, move on purpose, and think on purpose. And that purpose being to take your health from where it is now to where you would absolutely love it to be. And I think we can all agree, all of us want more of the good things. We want more health, we want more energy, we want more happiness. I think everyone can agree on those things. So in terms of eating on purpose, we want to be looking at, eating well as much as possible. When I speak to clients, whether it's chiropractic clients or THT clients, most people say, "Oh, I eat well." Like, okay, well, what's your definition of well? And then they tell me, and I'm looking at what they've just said and hearing what they've just said, and I'm like, okay, that might be well in the context of what you knew before now, but that can be much improved.
Okay.
So
can you give an example of something that typically people, so if people think that they're eating well, but actually they're not, what typical thing are people consuming and eating, especially maybe now because they're at home and they're cooking at home and so they do have more choice in a way as to what they're eating. They're not having to eat from the local sandwich bar or things like that. What do you sort of find at the moment that people they think they're doing the right thing, but actually maybe they're doing some harm?
Okay, great question. So things like pasta, People think pasta is healthy. It is not. There's some pasta that's better than others, but it's not a health food. Eating bread, people still think that that's healthy. No, it's not. So white rice is a thing which people often think, well, that's healthy. Pasta sauce, all these things out of jars. I'm like, come on, people, that's not health. But the reality is, you don't know what you don't know, do you? I've spent like 22, 23 years in the healing arts now, and it's when I hear people say things like, "Oh, pasta's healthy, isn't it? A Chinese is healthy, isn't it?" No, it's not. I often say to
we don't have any Chinese open at the moment, so we don't have any choice.
Do you have things like Deliveroo and Just Eat and stuff like that?
I live in a very small town, and I heard one place is now open.
Is it?
We thought the Italian was open at the weekend, and I was going to be given a break, and rang, and it rang out, and I was like, right, I have to cook another homemade meal.
Right. I mean, homemade cooking from scratch is obviously the best thing you can do, isn't it? So, in a lot of ways, then this lockdown that most of the world is on is an opportunity and a blessing for people to get back to basics. Eat real food, eat whole food. And if you don't know how to cook it and prepare it, now's your time to
learn. My God, there's so many videos online. Yeah. Free. I mean, I know Jamie Oliver's got a whole lockdown meals, Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. I've created all kinds of stuff and things I found in the cupboard that I didn't know were in there. And but my spice rack has never been so well used, I have to say. It's
that's good.
But back to pasta and bread. I mean, I know personally, I came off wheat last September, and it made a massive difference to my mental health, not just weight-wise. And I'm nearly 50, so for me, everything was slowing down, and there were definitely kind of some issues there. Didn't seem to matter what I tried. Nothing was shifting, and then I took wheat out of the equation, and boom, it was unbelievable. And really for me, yes, while the weight was a bonus, it was the mental side of things. I just felt clearer. I felt like this kind of brain fog had lifted.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that. That just reminded me of a couple of great books. One is called Wheat Belly. The other one is called Grain Brain. Dr. Davis, I forget his first name, wrote the Wheat Belly, and I forget the guy who wrote the Grain Brain. But both great books. And when you said you noticed big improvements in mental clarity of thought and stuff like that, that's what reminded me of that book. Great book, because the human body is not designed to eat wheat. Certainly not designed to eat the wheat of the 20th century, 21st century, actually, sorry. And dairy products as well. People often think, oh, the dairy's healthy, especially in Ireland. When I used to live in Ireland a few years back, or over 10 years ago now. Dairy's still a staple in Ireland massively, isn't it? All the dairy farmers and all that kind of thing. So
yeah, I see the cows on my way out of my house. Yeah, all the dairy cows. And look, we don't want to put down an entire industry, but I think it's just if you're feeling sluggish and if you're feeling a lack of energy, these are just things. And again, I took dairy out. Certainly in terms of milk, I don't drink milk at all now. I use oat milk, or, well, you're not allowed to call it milk apparently. Oat drink or almond drink, coconut, and those ones seem to. And I have to say, I've become completely addicted to oat milk cappuccinos.
Yeah,
I know coffee is not fantastic for you. However, I've taken out one of the ingredients.
Yeah, well, it's good. One step at a time, isn't it? It's interesting. Is that just an island where it can't be called? It's got to be called a drink rather than a milk? Because
I don't know if it was just here, but I definitely heard something about there was an objection to it being called milk
by the dairy board.
By the dairy, the dairy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people have for many generations drank milk because it's going to give you strong bones.
Well, I was going to say, well, in terms of the whole calcium.
Yeah, it's not the case at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It all comes down to our internal body chemistry. the acid alkaline base, you would remember all that from, or remember bits of it from school and chemistry and whatnot from years ago. Yeah, do you want me to go through a brief explanation of?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you remember from school, the strong acid is number 1 on the chart. Strong alkaline is number 14. I'm doing this backwards for me. Hopefully, it's the right way for your viewers. So strong acid 1, like hydrochloric acid, very strong acid. In the middle, pH neutral 7.
Yep.
And human body chemistry is meant to be around about 7.34, so slightly alkaline. So this applies to loads of things, but milk is always the biggest eye-opener for people, because we've all been brainwashed since we were kids for generations that it gives you strong bones. So your body has to the detriment of everything else, bring your body chemistry back towards alkaline. It can't stay in acidity, otherwise we won't live, we'll die. Okay, so it's got to come back to alkalinity to function at its best and to just function and stay functioning. So you consume some dairy products, whether it's in a sandwich or you're drinking a pint of milk or whatever, it's going to make your body chemistry more acidic. So what your body says, right, we've got to get this back to alkalinity. We do it by 2 primary ways. There's loads of ways, but 2 primary. One's to take calcium out of the bone. The other is to take magnesium out of your muscles, your blood vessels, or the connective tissues.
Wow.
It goes to calcium first, though, to take calcium out of bone. You keep taking calcium out of bone, what happens? Your bones get weak, don't they? Brittle bones, osteoporosis. Weak bones rather than strong bones. So the other thing it does, it takes magnesium out of blood vessels. One of the big functions, it does loads and loads of things in the body, but one of the big functions of magnesium is it helps muscles and tissues relax. So
right.
If it's in a blood vessel and one of its functions is to relax the tissue, if you take it out, you see how it's going to contract that blood vessel? If you constrict the blood vessel, your blood pressure is going to go up in there. It's not going to go down. So all of these different things make the human body metabolically acidic. Basically, all your systems and tissues are acidic. Doesn't function well in acidity, as we just talked about a minute ago, because it's got to bring it back towards alkaline. So loads of every system in your body, you know, the heart, the lungs, all of these things, they all depend on a certain level of alkalinity in the body to function at their best. So not only, we started off talking about milk there, didn't we? But you could see the whole acid alkaline thing applies to every system in your body.
And what about things like people taking vitamins and minerals like magnesium and vitamin D and vitamin C, then, you know, and additional calcium? Is that something that is recommended?
Definitely.
Obviously, it's better if you take it out of your diet, but if it is in your diet, does that help?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the ideal, as you just mentioned, is it's going to be in the food and the liquids and stuff that we consume. But the reality is, where we are now in the world, a lot of the food that used to be super dense in nutrients, that's now much less nutrition.
Yeah.
By the way it's prepared and grown and fertilized and all that kind of stuff. So yes, definitely, I supplement. I recommend people do, because it's a way of topping things up. Because, as I mentioned a minute ago, the world's a different place and things aren't as nutrient dense as they once were. So vitamin C, very, very good for your immune system. Take loads of vitamin C in addition to what you're eating. And one of the old myths, if you think vitamin C, what fruit do you tend to think?
Well, oranges.
Oranges, exactly. That's great marketing, because the reality is dark green vegetables, leafy vegetables in particular, have way more vitamin C in than oranges do.
And is it true that they have calcium as well, that the leafy vegetables are a good source of calcium too?
Absolutely, loads. And protein as well. If you think of broccoli is, everyone's heard of the term superfood now. Broccoli is one of them, for sure. Where was I now? So what was the last thing I was saying?
Sorry, that was me interrupting you. You were talking about vitamin C, oranges.
Oh yeah, vitamin C, very, very good for your immune system. and vitamin D taken in combination, not necessarily in the same supplement, but taking vitamin D will make vitamin C work better and vice versa.
Okay, because I did read something recently that vitamin D was seen to be very good at this time against
Yeah.
the coronavirus, that it actually boosts the immune system
Yeah.
against it.
Yeah,
so the
sure.
world is going to be depleted of vitamin D, I think,
Yeah.
once people start.
And also, obviously, which I think most people would know, certainly should know, that vitamin D you get a lot of when you go outside in the sunshine. I don't know whether it's
Well,
been...
actually, you can see it's sunny behind me.
Yeah,
It's actually
yeah,
sunny here in Ireland. Doesn't happen too often, so woo.
yeah. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah, when it's nice, it's beautiful over there, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, get outside, get a bit of vitamin D from the sunshine. It's not necessarily having to be scorching hot, but get outside, get a bit of fresh air, and get a bit of sunshine in your life. Yeah, multivitamins are a good thing to top up as well. I mean, you can't take too much of some vitamins, but you'd have to go some way to be taking too much of it.
Okay.
Vitamin C and B vitamins are water soluble, so you really can't take too much of those.
The body will just get rid of whatever it doesn't need.
Yeah, you'll pass it out in water, you'll pass it out in breathing and sweating and all that kind of thing, because it's water soluble. Things like vitamin D and vitamin A, they're fat soluble, so you wouldn't necessarily sweat those out. So potentially you could take too much, but you'd have to take way, way, way more than the recommended to come even close to taking too much. But vitamin C, water soluble, I generally take, and I recommend when people have like a cough or a cold, or they feel like they're gonna be coming down with something, I always say, take 1,000 milligrams vitamin C every 2 hours. So that'd be 6,000 milligrams a day. You know, the only thing that would happen in a very similar way to if you ate loads and loads of fruit and veg, you might go to the toilet a bit more than usual.
Yeah.
Most people could tolerate probably 6. Everyone's different, obviously, but most people could tolerate 6 or even 8,000 milligrams before that started to change.
And how often would you do? How many days would you do that? Not every day, surely.
Vitamin C. If you feel like you're coming down with a cold or something, yeah.
Until you feel a bit better and a bit.
Yeah, at least a week. Yeah,
okay.
And it usually makes whatever was going to hit you just go away, deflects it completely in most cases. So yeah.
And is there a particular form of vitamin C? Because I know there's the ascorbic acid, and I can never think of the alternative. Does it matter?
Well, I mean, with anything, there's a premium version, isn't there? So it does matter, but anything's better than nothing. I
always find it quite hard. Sorry, what's the name of the other one? I can never think of it. It's not particularly acidic. I can't think of the name of it, and I always find it really hard to get hold of. And when I do see it, it is extremely expensive.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. The name escapes me as well.
we might eventually put it as a comment somewhere, or someone will put it as a comment. I'm sure someone will remember. So one of the other things you mentioned, Danny, was about so eating on purpose.
Yeah, eat, move, and think on purpose. Yeah.
And the thinking on purpose. So you mentioned about, just particularly at this point in time when people are, in this situation, about setting intentions.
Yeah, yeah. So if it's okay, if I just quickly run through what my morning
it'd be great. Yeah,
in that respect. So what I do first thing when I get up in the morning, I've got a journal where I'll write down 10 things that I'm grateful for in my life, whatever that is. For those watching and listening, it could be your family. It could be your health. It could be your family's health. It could be the house you live in, the food and shelter you've got, whatever it is, or the opportunity that you have right now to write that book that you've been wanting to write for years, or whatever. There's so many things to be grateful for. We just sometimes forget to look at what's under our nose, for want of a better phrase. So to supercharge that as well, I put next to each item that I'm grateful for how that makes me feel.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So, and that really makes it probably 10 times more powerful.
Yeah.
Because gratitude on its own is super powerful, but you know, if you can do gratitude on steroids, then it's gonna make that even more better for you. So, for example, if I say something like, "I'm grateful for my family's health," how does that make me feel? Well, that makes me really happy, or that gives me joy, or whatever. So, whatever it makes you feel, add that to it. And then I'll say to myself, right, what do I intend for today? What's my intention? Well, today, as an example, just off the top of my head, it could be, I intend to get done at least a couple of hours of working on my new project. I intend to spend an hour exercising with my PT. I've got a PT class at 12:30, so I intend to have a great session with my trainer. I intend to feel relaxed and calm despite all this madness in the world, etc., etc. So just a few sentences, a small paragraph. I think I usually do about 5 or 6 sentences. So that's early in the day. And then before bed, there's 5 points I'll always write down. What 5 things did I do successfully? So I'm documenting the successes. And that could be, oh, I had my PT session. I meditated twice. That's another thing I do a lot. Just before we jumped on this call this morning, I did some meditation. So meditate every morning and in the evening as well. So that's kind of my routine in terms of the gratitude, the intentions, and then the evening is the focusing on successes.
Love
And
it.
they don't have to be huge things. It can be, you know, anything.
But it really is just shifting your focus and shifting your whole mindset.
Absolutely.
And I know, I'm sure I wasn't alone, but certainly the first couple of weeks, you know, the focus was very much on the news, and of course, bad news sells, not good news. So everything is going to be, and obviously, we all wanted to know, you know, what was happening, what was this. But certainly for myself, as time's gone on, I even forget. I was never a big news reader or watcher anyway, because I always believe it's you know, it's one version of events, and yes, I need to know what's going on in the world, but it doesn't have to be the focus constantly is on the negative and what's going wrong. But certainly as time's gone on, I've kind of gone, yeah, as long as I'm doing my bit, I'm doing what I'm told, I'm social distancing, I'm keeping, you know, the kids at home and everything else, and we're home as much as we possibly can without the essential trips. Everything else is then, okay, what's the positives? What can we really shift our mind towards and think about? And certainly in terms of my own stress level, that reduced quite substantially as soon as I stopped watching so much of the news.
Yeah, so true. You know, I've said that for many, many years. I don't watch the news. I haven't bought or read a paper. I tell a lie. If I see a paper on a train or something, I'll have a look at the back page, have a look at the sport,
Yeah.
and then I'll put it down. But yeah, I don't read the news, watch the news, or listen to the news or anything like that. My sister said something on social media. She lives in Abu Dhabi. You mentioned Abu Dhabi.
Okay. My brother lives there.
And she said, oh, you know, since I stopped watching the news, I feel so much more happy, more positive and more joyful. And I said to her, my sister's called Elizabeth. I said, Elizabeth, in a comment, how many years have I been saying that? And she said, oh, yes, you have been saying it for years. It is, as you mentioned before, it's just, how do you control people? You make them scared, don't you? So when people are fearful, they're very easy to control. And that's what's happened with the news for forever, basically. So in my book, I talk a lot about, and my programs as well, I talk about put yourself on a media diet.
Yes.
Either get rid of it completely or massively reduce it. People say to me, even today,
A digital diet.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. You know, whether it's let's say media to encompass social media and all this kind of thing, because social media can do the same thing. It can really stress and annoy people and make people worried and all that kind of thing. Because you know, the reality is, when we look at the statistics of how many people that have, I don't know the exact statistic now. I think last time I looked, I did some updates for my clients in the practice, was last week, and there was just under 60,000 people died worldwide. This thing has been
it's definitely more than that now. I think it was over 100,000.
Yeah, probably now, yeah. So the reality is, every single year, this is going back longer than I've been alive. I've just turned 41, so well over 40 years. Every single year worldwide, 250 to 500,000 people per year, every year, die from flu. Okay, at this point, because let's remember, this thing started in November, this current epidemic. It's obviously, grown over time, but it's been going since November. We're now nearly May. That's five months, 6 months, 7 months, and the usual annual flu season runs from October till the end of April. Okay, we're nowhere near the 250 to 500,000 that happens every single year without fail. No one ever talks about it. Some of your listeners probably have never heard that statistic because people don't talk about it.
Sorry, it dropped out again. Yeah, no, the statistic. Okay. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm just looking at the time here, and I know we were going to limit this to half an hour. I think we could talk about that bit of it for a hell of a lot longer. Yeah. But look, and I understand the reason that really we are in the way we are is to just not overwhelm the health service. That's really been the biggest thing is to protect the frontline workers, to protect the health system, to not have that collapse. And we will get through this. We are going to get through it. It's not going to be forever. And the aim really is to come out of this maybe a slightly better version of ourselves as individuals and as a human race would be fantastic. So Danny, it has been, and as I said, I could definitely talk to you all day about this, and all the things you've mentioned have been so interesting. Each one we could go into huge depth with. I know you said that people could get your book for free, just pay for the post and packaging.
Yes.
So there's a link going to be below this video. If people want to contact you and to book a consultation and to get some help with your THT program, that is mainly online anyway, by the sounds of it. You said you work with people all over the world, so that would be great. Yeah. And obviously it's a shame you're not around the corner as my chiropractor, because I could definitely do with a bit of an adjustment after the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of those details are underneath, and you never know, Danny, might have another chat with you before all this is over, if you're willing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just reach out and we'll get something in the diary if you would like. That's absolutely cool. Yeah. Thank you for having me on your, I'll call it your show, because you've been doing quite a lot. Thank you for having me on your show. It's been a pleasure.
My little home interview show. No, it's fantastic, and I'm just so honoured people are coming on and sharing their knowledge so generously as well with me and the people who do get to watch this. And everything is relevant, not just for now, but for after this is all over as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So hopefully your viewers got some value from what we were talking about. And
well, I certainly did. So I don't care about anyone else as long as I can.
Good stuff. Thanks again. I'll speak to you soon. Yeah.
Danny, take care and stay safe. We'll chat soon.
Cheers. Bye.